I started my video business in 2005. Officially 2004, but it really wasn't, like, as far as the state was concerned, it wasn't until January 1st of 2005. I did a little bit of everything for the first 6 months of running this video company. I mean, like, literally everything. I think minus porn, we did everything. And 6 months into doing video, I filmed a wedding. I had a photographer friend who said, hey, this couple, they need a wedding video. Like, would you do it? They've got $500. And back then, my wife and I were newly married. We had no money. $500. I was like, man, I'm going to make $500 in a day. But I forgot that you have to edit things, and it's a lot more than just... Anyway, I said yes, filmed it. I was like, this is amazing. My dad had passed like 6 months after Andrew and I were married. So for me, the meaning of a wedding film just meant a lot more than just, shoving a camera in people's faces and making them uncomfortable. But I thought we could create these legacy pieces for families, these treasures. And so for the next 7 or 8 years, we built this luxury wedding film brand. And I got to tour the country and travel and meet really famous people and rich people and Hall of Fame football players. And it was amazing. And at the same time, I'm growing a team, and my desire to really build this business continued to grow and grow. And so in 2012, I decided that we would build a corporate brand. So we would start working with businesses and try to tell stories for businesses the way that we were doing for families and couples. Little did I realize that it was a lot harder to make somebody feel like all of the feels that, brides and grooms would feel and parents would feel. So we didn't get nearly as many compliments from our clients once we started doing corporates. They weren't crying watching their corporate videos. But in 2012, right when we launched this new brand, we got an inquiry from the University of Michigan, which is why I do prefer the University of Michigan. Yet have I gotten anything from Michigan State. The Raw School of Business, which is one of the top 10 business schools in the entire world, they reached out and said, hey, we've got this project. We would love for you to bid on it. I did have a connection at the school, so I was able to kind of get some insider information. But I went to this dinky little Christian school. I did not go to school for business. I didn't go to school for video. So I'm like figuring out this whole thing. And I'm a little bit nervous to be, going to the University of Michigan, whom I have so much respect for this university. And I'm thinking, the guy who said, hey, you'll come in, it'll be my team from the Raw School, and you'll just do like a mini presentation, and we'll ask you some questions about how you could, tell our story, blah, blah, blah. As it got closer and closer, I'm just planning what we're gonna say, and I'm still sort of new in my business, but like brand new in the world of like corporate. Like, I don't sit down with CEOs, I sit down with couples and their parents and like really just build this amazing connection with them. So I got this genius idea, hey, let's create a video and we'll play that as part of our presentation to just kind of like show them maybe what we could do for the university. So I had one of my guys go out and we got some beauty shots of the campus, and we did some... I'm going to show you the video here in a second, but we did some terrible interviews, or I don't know why we zoomed in so much on our faces when we did these interviews, so I regret that. So I apologize in advance for how big and fat my face is going to fill the screen. We brought it with us, and I took a risk in this video, and I think you'll see. I thought, let's add a little bit of personality. Not too much personality, but like let's be us, because here's what's gonna happen. Either they're gonna love it and say like, yeah, this is great, or they're gonna really understand who we are and say, no, thank you. But I think for the longest time in my life, I kept growing into this, like, I want to work with people that get me. Right? Because if you spend some time with me, you'll realize I'm kind of a goofball, a little bit of a crier, maybe. I'm going to try real hard not to do that today. But I don't want to work with people that don't get all of this and don't get the culture that I'm trying to build, where we take our jobs very seriously, but at the same time, we want people to just be chill and like enjoy the process. So here's the video. We introduced ourselves, answered some questions, and I said, hey, and we made a video for you guys. And so we plugged the stuff in, and this is the video that I played for this long table of really smart people that work at the Raw School of Business, their marketing team, blah, blah, blah. Here's the video. We love stories like this.
The University of Michigan's Ross School of Business is a training ground for incredible leaders. And to tell the story of what these people are doing to impact the world would be a great opportunity.
My name is John Azzoni. I'm the creative director for Tell. We're going to approach this project differently than I think a lot of other companies would. We're artists. We're not just people that can push a button on a camera. So the end result is going to be more than just a video. It's going to literally be a piece of art, and it's going to be told in a way that's inspiring and powerful and ultimately persuasive enough to help somebody make a sound decision about where to attend business school.
Last year, our team was named one of the top 25 most influential studios in the world by a group of our peers. Because of that, we have access to a wide variety of resources and filmmakers, not just locally or regionally, but also globally. The Executive Education Leadership Program at the Stephen M. Ross School of Business is one of the best ways in the world for leaders in business and industry to advance their careers. And to be part of something like that is just such a fantastic opportunity for us and our team.
Everything that we do is about the story. Our hope with this film is that it would inspire and inform people about a major decision for their career. And ultimately, we didn't have much more to present, so we thought we'd make a video, and here we are. This is awkward now, shut it off.
There's always Monday morning. That's what I said at the end of the video. I also said, turn the cameras off, this is getting awkward. So we created that moment for them, and we thought that adding some personality would be a good idea. So the title of my talk is "You Are the Brands Part 2." Video. Actually, it was going to be that, but then I thought I might get sued by somebody in this room. Instead, it is the power of a brand story and how to tell yours. And this really is by me, I think. I did not Google that to see if somebody else has this. The origin, this is a quote. This is, says, the origin of the word courage comes from the word cur, which means heart. And it means to completely share your story with your whole heart. Brene Brown, Ryan Koral. That was my favorite part of this presentation. Sorry. Michael Scott, if anybody, yeah. In 2013, my wife and I, we had two kids. We were living in this city called Royal Oak, and we loved it. It had sidewalks, parks, restaurants, just really, really cool city. We had been friends with these other two families for years. I met them actually back before I met my wife. And once we were all married, we were hanging out and raising our kids together, but they lived like 30 minutes away. We built this amazing bond. We would do camping trips together and just love these friends. We tried getting them to come down and live in the city with us. They lived in the country, and my wife and I both grew up in the country, and we were kind of done with that life of living on dirt roads and frogs and ponds and all the things. They refused. They said, no, we love it up here. So eventually one night my wife came home. She said, she was hanging out with the ladies. She said, hey, what do you think? We've already had this discussion. She said, what do you think about us moving up to Clarkston to live near Jeanette, Jason, and Holly? And something just changed. There was a flip that switched in my heart. Like in that moment, it was the weirdest thing, because leading up to this, I was like, we both were like, no. But just whatever, I just said, yeah, like let's do it. Which was a really hard decision, because we had so many good friends in this community that we had been in for 8 years. So for us to take our family, we were just moving 30 minutes north, but we knew the value of being close in proximity with our friends. And so to leave these friends, to go live with these near these other friends was a big deal. So before doing this, we had a conversation with these families and said, hey, we want to move, and we want to live by you. But here's the agreement that we would want you to agree to in order for us to do this. This isn't even the emotional part. So we want to raise our kids together, and we want to live in close community. You spoke it into existence, Mike. I remember sitting at Qdoba with my buddy Jay, having this first conversation and saying, we value your friendship, and we know that if we, the 6 or the 3 families, all kind of like do life together, we know it'll be amazing for our kids, and we know that it will be amazing for the community that we live in. Just because we know, like, these people are the best people, and they would bring the best out of us. For the camera, let me just get rid of these. Okay. And so they said, yes, like, move, like, come up here. Like, we want you here. We want to commit to, like, how do we raise our kids together? And, so we all moved into one house, and it was really small. Just kidding. We didn't do that. But we lived within 5 minutes of each other, so it was very close. We could be to each other's house, like, very quickly. And it was amazing to see what was happening in our neighborhood of friends. Like, they were introducing us to their group of friends, and they're like, who is this new family? But man, it was like home. And having, 2 other families with kids that are right around our kids' age, and to be overlapping in so many of our activities and seeing the same people over and over, it was this amazing thing where we got to experience community on just another level. And so we've been on vacations, and I told Andy, we talked about going to moving to Spain for a year with these families, and just do something different, countercultural. We didn't move to Spain, but we still do live by each other. So in 2016, 4 years after I launched this corporate brand, it's, business it's just like this. I'm trying to figure out what the heck I'm doing. How do I do this? Nothing. It's just one-off projects, and it's really hard, and we do really good work, but I just don't, like, I'm spread thin, and we got kids, and I'm trying to be a present dad, and I'm trying to be involved in the community, and it got really, really bad. Like, cash flow is really, really bad, and I just felt like it was so hard. I was in one of the most vulnerable positions that I've ever been in my entire life. This is where the tears should come in. So I remember we were sitting in our house, and we had the 2 couples over. We'd asked them to come over. And so we're sitting around this table, and I probably have shared this story like 300 times, and it is emotional. I remember they just said, like, what do you need? Like, what's up? And I just shared. I was like, it's really hard. And the response was, well, what do you need? Like, if you need groceries, we got you. If you need your mortgage paid, like this is what we do. And that's what we have. And that's the thing I love so much about, like, what Mike has built here, is that he asked me last semester, whatever he calls it, like when we were going to renew whether or not we wanted to re-up in the mastermind. And I just thought, I'm like, this group, like, that's a dumb question, Mike. Don't ask me dumb questions. You're wasting my time. Of course, like, nobody's in the same business, and we're all doing something different, but to know that I have people that have my back, people that know me, and I'm an open book. I share the hard stuff. And that has just made it so much easier, I think, for people to be able to come alongside me and know how they can support me. So I feel like that has been, a handful of, like, really smart things I've done with my life. I think that's been one of the best gifts that I've given myself, to say, like, hey, if you're open and honest and vulnerable, and the quicker that you can do that without being incredibly awkward, the better it's going to be for you and for others, because people want to help you and they want to support you. And that's just the way that I think that we're wired. If we can take the courage to share our story with our whole hearts, we'll create trust, make powerful connections, and build a more fulfilling business. At the University of Michigan, we play this video, and I'm watching the people along the table. I'm not watching the video because I've seen it, and I'm just like, oh man, this is going to be either really good or really bad. And I'm watching the facial expressions, and people are smiling, and people are chuckling a little bit, and the lights come on, and they said, Ryan, what you did in that video with your team and how you were able to bring your personality forward, that's exactly what we want you to do for our brand. Not like what you did for you, we're not goofy, that's not our brand, But if you can do that with your brand, we really believe that you can do that with our brand. And so for the next bunch of years, we did tons of projects with the University of Michigan. And I didn't have to be somebody that I wasn't. I could show up and I could be my goofy self. And if they didn't like it, I was like, oh, don't talk to me. Talk to whoever hired me. Like they saw something wherever. And I feel like every business, every brand has that, right? All of us as business owners, we have the thing that makes us unique. And when we can embrace that and realize that we don't have to be, the business for everybody, if we could just be the business for the right people, like that will bring a lot of fulfillment in what we're doing. I think the power of a brand story, the opportunity that a brand story can create for you is an opportunity to create connections with your ideal client. And since then, as I've worked hard and 60% of our clients are like my ideal client. The other 40, they don't really get it. They just need really good video and a team that they know that they can do it. But we're constantly trying to move closer and closer as we describe who we are, who our ideal client is, what we care about, what we want them to care about. We get closer and closer, and the work just becomes more fulfilling. I was this punk kid growing up, always class clown, always goofing off, saying smart alecky things to my teachers and trying to make my friends laugh, kind of like I'm trying to do here. Not much has changed. I ended up through a series of events. I went to university, tried like 3 semesters, trying to figure out my life. And there was this incredible opportunity. A friend of mine whose dad was a basketball coach at a university said, hey, I want to meet this guy. Good things are happening in your life, and I think it's maybe because of this Ryan guy that you're hanging out with. So I meet, his name is Garth, and he was the basketball coach at this university for like 40 years. So I meet Garth, and he's asking me a bunch of questions just about my life, and he's impressed with whatever he's got going on here. So he says, I want you to meet my boss, the president of this university. So I meet the president at the university. He's asking me a bunch of questions, and I'm really nervous. I'm sitting at this long table, and I'm like, I've never met a president before. This is crazy. And he's impressed with what he's seeing and hearing. And he says, I need a student leader like you on this campus to just be here with these other students. You bring something that this campus needs, which is amazing. Now I'm just sitting there like, there's no way. I can't afford school. I can't do any my parents are divorced, and they didn't really go to school, and they don't know how to support me, and they don't have the money to. And like maybe down the future, like this opportunity would be incredible. And he's like, just come and I want you to meet, some students. We've got this orientation this weekend. I'm like, well, school starts next week and I'm already enrolled. And he's like, just come and meet some students. So I show up on campus and I meet all these people, and they give me a lanyard and they give me this key. And I'm like, I don't need a key. I'm like 30 minutes away. I'm going to commute the next 2 days just as I'm meeting during your orientation thing. And they're like, oh, no, like that's the key it's your room key. And I'm like, yeah, no, I'm just commuting. And they're like, didn't you hear? And I'm like, hear what? They're like, you got the president's scholarship. And I'm like, I don't know what that means. You got the president's room, board, school, everything is paid for the next 4 years if you want it. And I'm like, little did I know. I mean, in that moment, my life was changed, but little did I know what was going to come as a result of that. At that school, Jason and Holly, 2 of the people who I said that we moved to this community to live life with. I went to school with both of them. I met them both my freshman year. 2 years later, I met my wife. She wasn't my wife then, but eventually became my wife. After I graduated school, I stayed there for 2 more years. I worked in the enrollment department. I convinced my boss somehow to buy me a video camera and a computer, because I thought that if we told the stories of the college and made little DVD business cards. I don't know if you guys remember those. That's how old I am. But if we made these little DVD business cards, we could mail them out to potential students and parents and other youth leaders and people that would just need to know about the school. So I started shooting and editing and learning the craft and fell in love with it. And then eventually I was like, this is all I want to do. I just want to tell stories. I just want to make videos. And so I left the school and started my video business. And then a year and a half ago, the college came to me and said, hey, we have a donor. He's got a lot of money and he wants to do a documentary on one of our people, the basketball coach, who's since retired, but he wants to do a documentary on him. Would you be interested in doing this documentary on Garth? And I have this like full circle experience of like, this is the guy that saw something in me that introduced me to his boss. Do I want to tell his story? Like, are you kidding? I'm doing this work. I'm standing in this spot today because that guy saw something in me. And so in doing this project, being a part of this project, I realize, oh my goodness, for the last 11 years in my video business, we haven't had a niche. We work with businesses and we tell brand stories. That's a niche, but it's still, there's a lot of businesses in the world. I don't know if you know that, but like everybody's, there's just so many. So it's like hard to market, and it's been frustrating for me to market. But as soon as I realized like higher ed storytelling, the stories inside of higher ed is in a very challenged spot right now. Really, it's if you're in higher ed, you're probably freaking out. Like, what is work going to look like in 5 or 10 years? Enrollment's down, schools are closing. But for all of these universities, they all have stories inside, like my story. My story it's unique to me, but like every university has a story of somebody whose life has changed. And if they're not telling those stories, people aren't going to differentiate them from the next school who has this program and these buildings and these things. And so we're niching down. We've created a brand new brand, a sub-brand of our production company, and I'm on fire. So as I'm learning and seeing the fruits of what we've been doing, my encouragement for everybody in this room is to really think, what would it look like if I had a brand story? What if I had a story that really got to the heart and soul of who I am, and I had something that allowed me to stand apart? Because you're all unique, but a lot of you do similar type things. You have people that are in your space that do similar type. So the best way, unless you go to a conference and you're meeting your clients, or unless you're like having Zoom calls with potential clients, the best way is to have video on your website or on social media that shares your heart and your passion. Like, why do you do this work? Why do you care about it? So that people can start to understand what makes you different, and do they jive with you? Do they get you? Because if they get you, and they like it, then just like U of M says, like, yeah, you're for us. Don't do exactly, but we like what we see here. Benefits of sharing your story. Video with soul creates empathy. When you can get to that, not just like, hey, I'm gonna teach you these things, but you can say like, why? Like, what changed in your life? What was a transformation? What was the light bulb moment? You create empathy. And empathy is like, that's how we build relationships, and they're like rocket ships, I hear. He's not listening. When you create a brand, story, whether it's a segment or it's a bigger part of your story, you can get so much content. And we all, raise your hand if you feel like you could use more content on your feed or your website or anything. 3 of us, yeah, me too. And you can connect with your ideal audience, right? That's the whole idea here. These stories, I've got a QR code and my email address, so you can take a picture of that if you want, and I've got more questions where those came from, but these are sample questions that you can ask of yourself. How did you start, or how did I start? Why did you start? I mean, your why, like we all know Simon Sinek, like what a genius idea for him to share with us, like the most simple concept, but what is our why? Like, why do we do this? People are interested in that. They don't just want to hear about your success. They want to hear about like, where did this start? Because that's interesting. Why do you still do this? Why do you care? Take me to that moment in your life, in your career, where everything changed. What's been really tough? What's been a struggle? Invite people into the struggle and bring them along on your journey. Who's been your biggest mentor and inspiration? What's one of your favorite client success stories? And then just a couple of tips on how to tell your story for video. Talk straight into camera. Build rapport, build a connection. Know that there's somebody else on the other side. We do a lot of interviews where it's like, you're talking off camera, and that's fine. That can serve a purpose. But as you're telling your story, look into the camera and make a connection. And when you're making that connection, remember to speak to one person. Maybe you have a YouTube channel and you're like, hey, what's up, YouTube? But if you can personalize, if you have a podcast or you're making YouTube videos, if you can look in and talk to that one person and let them connect with you, it will mean so much. They won't feel like just another viewer or subscriber. They'll feel like, man, maybe he's talking directly to me. And then the key, I think, to really getting to the heart and soul of your brand story is to have somebody else ask the questions, because you know your story, you can get up and you can share it, and you've shared it 100 times and you've got it down pretty well. But when you've got somebody on the other side that's asking you questions, and then give them a couple of tips like, hey, when you ask a question, feel free to say, tell me more about that. Why was that a big deal? What did that really mean to you? If they can give you, and you can give them the follow-up questions. They don't even have to be a good question asker, but if you have any friends in your life that are good question askers, get them to ask these questions of you. There's my QR code. I also will just give you my cell phone or my email address is there, but after I'm talking, I'll probably sign a few autographs. Why are you laughing so hard? No, but I would love to be able to help you on your video journey as best as I can. That QR code is going to take you to, I've got an email thing called Video Marketing Secrets or something like that, so you can sign up for that. But if you have specific questions and or you want the interview questions and more, just shoot me an email or text or WhatsApp or whatever the things are, and happy to do that. I want to say this: take courage to share your story. Do it, and the world is waiting. Thank you.